You found the house. Great street, great schools, great backyard. You are ready to make an offer. Then you walk the back of the lot, put your hand on the fence, and think, this is mine, up to here. That fence may be sitting 3 feet inside your real property line. And if it has been there long enough, that strip may not belong to this house anymore. Getting it back runs $20,000 and up. I'm Sarah. I spent 20 years on the closing side of real estate, in title and escrow, and I want to walk you through 5 property line red flags every buyer needs to check before they sign anything. By the end, you will know what to look for and what to ask. Stay with me for number 3, because almost nobody checks it, and it is sitting in paperwork you already have. Let's get into it. Red flag number 1. The fence is not the property line. The first red flag is assuming that fence marks your boundary. Here's what most buyers don't realize. A fence gets built by whoever built it, wherever it was convenient that day. Around a big tree, along the top of a slope, or just inside the line on purpose, because the person who put it in did not want an argument with the neighbor. Then 20 years later, it gets replaced in the exact same trench, because that is where the old one was. Nobody resurveys. Why would they? It is a fence. So here's what you really need to know. Nothing about a fence is a legal record. It is a piece of wood in the ground. The actual record of what you own is 3 things: the deed description, the recorded plat at the county, and a current survey. And I want to be fair to sellers here, because this is usually not somebody lying to you. The seller tells you the fence is the line because that is what they were told when they bought it. They believe it. The person who told them believed it too. That error gets handed down the chain, owner to owner, and it can be wrong by 3 feet for 30 years before anybody pays for a survey and finds out. I sat through closings where that survey came back 2 days before the table, and the mood in the room changed completely. So do not accept the fence. Do not accept the hedge, the tree line, or the row of landscaping rocks. Pull the recorded plat from the county and get your own boundary survey, and lay one on top of the other. Red flag number 2, the clock that is already running. The second red flag is a legal clock that starts without anyone telling you. Here's what's really happening. In every state, there is a way for somebody to become the legal owner of land that is not theirs, just by using it long enough. It is called adverse possession, and it exists in some form everywhere in this country. For a neighbor to take that strip, their use generally has to check 4 boxes. It has to be open and obvious, not hidden. It has to be continuous, year after year, without a long gap. It has to be exclusive, meaning they use it the way an owner would. And it has to be what the law calls hostile. Now here's what I hear all the time. Somebody tells me, my neighbor is wonderful, we get along great, so none of this applies to us. I need you to stop right there, because that is not what hostile means. In property law, hostile has nothing to do with anger. It only means they are using the land without your permission. The friendliest neighbor on the street can be running that clock out on you while you wave at them every single morning, and the clock is shorter than you would guess. Across the country, it runs anywhere from 5 years to 30. 10 is common, 20 is common. But in California, it is 5 years, as long as they have also been paying the property taxes on that strip. In Florida, 7. In New York, 10. Texas has several different clocks depending on the paperwork behind it. 5 years. A fence goes up 3 feet inside the line, and in some states that is 5 years away from permanent. There is a second version of this that is easier for the neighbor to win, and you should know the name of it. Many states call it boundary by acquiescence. If both sides simply treat the fence as the boundary for long enough, a court can make it the boundary, and the neighbor never has to prove a full adverse possession case at all. So here's what to ask. How long has that fence been standing? Who put it there? Has anyone ever had it surveyed? And what is the clock in my state? Find your state's number, look at the age of that fence, and do the subtraction before you sign. Hey, If you find videos like this useful, I do one every single week. Subscribe to the channel, and let's get right back into it. Red flag number 3, the exception hiding in your title policy. The third red flag is one line of fine print that quietly removes the protection you think you bought. This is the one I watched go wrong from about 4 feet away, over and over, for 20 years. Almost every buyer I sat across from believed the same thing. They believed title insurance covers boundary problems. That is what it is for, right? You pay for a policy at closing, and if something is wrong with what you bought, the policy handles it. Here's what most people get wrong. Open a standard owner's policy and read the covered risks on the front. It does say the policy covers any encroachment or adverse circumstance affecting the title that would be disclosed by a complete and accurate survey of the land. Good. That is our exact problem, and it appears to be covered. Then you turn to Schedule B. And on most standard policies, sitting right there in the standard exceptions, is a line that takes it straight back out. It reads something close to this. This policy does not insure against encroachments, overlaps, boundary line disputes, or other matters which would be disclosed by an accurate survey or inspection of the premises. Read those two things together, and here is where you land. The policy covers boundary problems, except it specifically does not cover boundary problems. That line is called the survey exception. On most standard policies, the only way to remove it is to provide a current survey and pay an additional premium for what gets called survey coverage or extended coverage. Now, this varies by state and by underwriter. So, I am not telling you what your policy says. I am telling you to go find out what it says. So, here's what to ask your title company. And write these down. Is there a survey exception on my policy? What exactly does it exclude? What do you need from me to delete it? And what does deleting it cost? Pull out your title commitment, turn to Schedule B, and look for the word survey. Do it today, before you sign anything. Red flag number 4, the survey you think you already have. The fourth red flag is paying for a survey and not getting the one that protects you. This one catches a lot of people. Somewhere in your closing costs, there is probably a line item with the word survey on it. Buyers see that, and they relax. Do not relax yet. Here's what most buyers don't realize. There are 2 very different documents that both get called a survey. A mortgage survey, sometimes called a location survey, exists so the title company can write a policy for your lender. It confirms the house sits roughly where the record says, and that there is no glaring problem. It is not setting your corners. A boundary survey is the real one. Some surveyors call it a stake survey or a corner survey. A licensed surveyor goes out, sets your actual corners, and shows you the lot dimensions, the setbacks, and anything crossing your line. On a normal suburban lot under half an acre, that usually runs between $300 and $900, and the same trap runs through the title policy itself. The lender's policy is the mandatory one. It protects the lender, it is written for the loan amount, and it shrinks every month as you pay your principal down. The owner's policy is the optional one. It is written for the purchase price, and it lasts as long as you hold an interest. That is the one that protects you. So look at your closing documents and ask 2 questions. Which survey did I actually pay for? And whose name is on the title policy? If the answer is the mortgage survey and the lender's policy, you have protected the bank and nobody has protected you. Order the boundary survey. Red flag number 5, the tree. The 5th red flag is the fastest way I have seen a small boundary problem turn into a very large check. Say the line is unclear, there is a tree near it, and you decide it is yours and take it down. Or you get aggressive, trimming the side that hangs over your yard. Here's what you really need to know. If that tree turns out to be on your neighbor's side of the true line, you have not just damaged a tree. You have triggered what most states call timber trespass, and these statutes are written to bite. In most states, the penalty is double or triple the value of the tree, plus the cost of restoration. Washington and Oregon both allow treble damages, which means 3 times. New Hampshire's statute runs from 3 times up to 10 times the market value of every tree. And people badly underestimate what a mature tree appraises for. A few $1,000s of standing tree becomes a judgment with a lot more zeros on it. So before a single branch comes down, know where the line is. Not where you think it is, where the survey says it is. Now, if you already own the place and you are realizing right now that you have never actually checked, I want to give you an order of operations because this part matters. Get a current boundary survey first. You cannot negotiate anything without one. Then, please, hear this next part. Do not touch it. Do not move the fence. Do not cut anything. Do not haul anything off. Self-help on a disputed strip is destruction of property, and it is the fastest way to turn their problem into your lawsuit. Take it to a real estate attorney in your state instead, because there is a cheap fix available early, and it is worth knowing it exists. In many states, a written, signed letter giving your neighbor permission to use that strip destroys the hostile element, and a clock that is not hostile is not running. Permission is the opposite of adverse possession. That letter can cost you almost nothing today and save you the entire fight later, but it only works before the clock runs out, which is why moving quickly matters more than being polite here. The bottom line is this: a property line problem is not automatically a deal breaker, but walking into a closing without knowing where your line actually sits, that is how buyers end up owning less than they paid for and finding out years later. So do these 3 things. Order your own boundary survey. Read Schedule B of your title commitment and find the survey exception. And walk that line with the survey in your hand before you sign anything, not after. So, there you have it. 5 property line red flags every buyer needs to check. The fence, which is not the line. The clock, which may already be running. The survey exception, which quietly removes the protection you thought you paid for. The mortgage survey, which is not a boundary survey. And the tree, which costs triple. Not one of these shows up during a showing. You cannot see any of it walking through the house. It lives in the county records, in Schedule B, and in a surveyor's report. $600 for a boundary survey, $20,000 and up if you skip it and it goes wrong. That is the whole decision, and you get to make it before you sign. Do these 5 checks and you walk into that closing knowing exactly where your line is, exactly what your policy covers, and exactly what your neighbor can and cannot do. That is the difference between owning your yard and just assuming you do. And if you want to know what else is buried in that stack of paperwork nobody reads at closing, I break the fine print down line by line in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you over there.